Chapter 2 Terracano. Pietro's circus never looked very inviting in the early morning hours. Tent flaps were closed, the shades in the trailers and vans were pulled down, and then there was all the stale kettle corn, half-eaten hot dogs, and overchewed wads of gum strewn across the ground. But the time Max Ernest made his way to the clown's camper van, the sole of his sneakers had doubled in thickness, and long threads of cotton candy trailed through the dust behind him. He hesitated at the door. If anybody knew where Pietro was, the clowns would. But interacting with the clowns was never easy. Screwing up his courage, he knocked, a little louder than he meant to. "Who is it? I don't wake up the whole neighborhood," came a muffly reply. Max Ernest opened the door and immediately started coughing uncontrollably. The van was so smoky. There might have been a campfire inside. "It's Max, Ernest," he managed to spill out between coughs. The clown, Mickey, and Maury were sitting across from each other at a small folded table. As usual, they looked completely disheveled. Shirts buttoned incorrectly, traces of clown makeup on their unshaven faces, as though they'd just woken up, or else hadn't slept in days. On one side of them sat Meryl, the circus beard lady, and a pink and green housecoat hidden her ample girth. On the other side sat Pietro, the old magician and secret leader of the Trace Society, his bushy gray mustache still showing the remains of his breakfast. All four were smoking fat cigars. Large playing cards fanned out in their hands. A big pile of coins beckoned from the middle of the table. "Well, if it isn't the two-named wonder," joked Maury, the shorter, fatter clown. "What do you think, Meryl? Would people pay to see him? Two-name is almost like having two heads, isn't it?" "Yeah, maybe we could promote him as a split personality. Dr. Max and Ernest Hyde," joked Mickey, the taller, skinnier clown. "The only split personality around here is going to be yours if you keep teasing the poor kid," said Meryl. She picked up the oversized yellow hammer off the floor and waved it threateningly. Max Ernest was relieved to see that the hammer was rubber, only one of the clown's circus props. He waved smoke away from his face. "Pietro, can you outside?" he asked in a gasping whisper. It was still very hard for him to speak, but it was an emergency. "Just wait the minute, Max Ernest. The game is not over." The magician's Italian accent made all his words sound slightly comical, and more than a little mischievous, as if a punchline were just around the corner. "Just for a second." Pietro shook his head. "I'm sorry, I cannot take my eyes off these clowns, or they will steal the plot." Meryl nodded sagely. "Sticky fingers, these two. Who us little lambs?" "We never steal," exclaimed Mickey. "Why should we? We cheat plenty good," said Maury. "But it's about Cass," Max Ernest protested. Pietro put his finger to his lips, shushing Max Ernest. Helpless, Max Ernest sat down on top of one of the clown's costume trunks. A curly red wig spilled out the side. Resigned himself to watching the game. "Okay, my trick," said Meryl. By trick, Meryl here does not mean a card trick or magic trick. She doesn't even mean the kind of trick you play regularly on the bullies at school. At least I hope you do. Rather, a trick-taking card games like bridge and spades and hearts and pinochle are all tricks referred to a single round of cards. Leading with the wands, that's what would be the ace of wands, she adds smudgely. as she laid the card on the table. Pietro smiled appreciatively. Molto bene, my bearded partner. Max Ernest craned his neck to see the cards. He had assumed they were playing poker, but he never heard of an ace of wands before. What kind of cards are those? He asked, interested despite himself. Tarot cards, said Mickey. And what happened to your voice? Used to be nobody could shut you up. On the corner next to Max Ernest was the oversized polka dot notepad and an oversized candy-striped pen. More circus props. He picked up the pen and tested it on the notepad. It worked, although it contained pink glitter glue instead of ink. I have laryngitis, he wrote. And the next line. Do you mean like cards for fortune telling? Then he held up the pad and for the table to see. Maury nodded. Except when you gamble with them, you're not wasting your money. That's right. They're contributing to the Clown Improvement Society, said Mickey. In Italy, there is a game we play with tarot cards many hundreds of years ago, Pietro explained. It's called the Tarocchino. Enough history lesson, old man, said Mickey. Maury. He tapped the table twice, making sure Maury saw him. Maury nodded discreetly. Or sort of discreetly. How sad. I'm fresh out of wands, said Maury, sounding very not sad about it. He held up a card faced out for all to see. Mr. Magician, I present my trump card, the Magician. The real-life magician's eyes twinkled as he laid his card on top of Maury's. How about a clown for a clown? Or should I say a fool to trump a fool? Wait, you can't play the fool. That's like a joker, said Mickey, outraged. You're changing the rules. I'm the only Italian in the room, no? I think I should know the rules. The fool, he is wild. He trumps all. Mickey threw the two wands on the table and pushed the pile of coins towards the magician. Cheater, he grumbled. A few minutes later, Pietro and Max Ernest stood outside the trailer. Miserable Max Ernest was scribbling furiously with the candy-striped clown pen. I did everything right. She didn't even blink. She just kept lying there. I don't know what to do. The doctors say the longer she's in the coma, the less likely she's ever going to wake up. He showed Pietro the pen and added punctually, not that you care. Pietro put his hand on Max Ernest's shoulder. I know you're angry with me. You think I should not be playing cards at a time like this. That I do not love our cast enough. But you must understand, the card had they were telling us something. Max Ernest looked at him surprisingly. I thought you were just playing a game. That's not mean the cards have lost their power. But you don't think they're... Max Ernest hesitated before writing the word magic. You don't actually believe people can see the future, do you? He couldn't believe Pietro, his mentor, his hero, could be so superstitious. Pietro was a professional magician. Well, a retired professional magician, not a wizard. Pietro shrugged. What is the magic? Most people, they think it is what cannot be explained. The magicians, we know better. The magic, it is what has not been explained yet. Here. He reached behind Max Ernest's left ear. It seemed to be pulling a coin. Max Ernest almost rolled his eyes. It was the oldest trick in the book. But still he observed closely. Pietro rarely did magic tricks anymore. It was always instructive to watch him. Pietro closed his fist around the coin. When he opened his hand, there were two coins. He closed and opened his hand once more. Once more, there was only one. Rather than lying flat, it stood on its edge, as if it were there no other coin underneath. Now, where is the other coin? Max Ernest smiled notably. You're holding it between the backs of your fingers. That's an unusual method, yes, admitted the magician. But when he spread his fingers, there was no coin to be seen. This time, it's something else. He turned his hand over, keeping his fingers spread open. The second coin was standing upright on the back of his hand, seeming perfectly balanced. He turned his hand sideways, and the coins did not move. Neither did the coin that was standing on his palm. Both coins appeared to be weightless and are stuck to his skin. What is this trick, do you think? Tape? Glue? The magician shook his head. See for yourself. He handed the coins to Max Ernest, showing that it is not the slightest bit of sticky. Max Ernest grunted in frustration. It wasn't in his nature to be stumped. Do not be upset. We do not need always to know everything right away, said Pietro. The magician, he wants to understand, of course. That's how the elephant floated in the air. What makes the illusion? Yes, there is a mirror, or are you strings? Okay, fine, yes. This is the magician's job. But Max Ernest, if you do not feel first the mystery, you do not see the magic. You are like the musician who cannot make the sounds but does not hear the music. Now take the other coin. As soon as Pietro handed the second coin to Max Ernest, it stuck to the first coin. Max Ernest pulled them apart. They flew back together. They're magnets. The magician nodded, smiling broadly. Max Ernest frowned, disgruntled. Isn't that cheating? Pietro laughed. You're not the clown with your cheating. It's a magic trick. What is cheating? There is no cheating in magic, only in poker. I still do not see what this has to do with the tarot cards, or casts. You know, perhaps there is some force field that directs the cards just as the magnet field swirls around the magnets. Imagine the people in the ancient world, what they thought at first time they saw the magnetism. As he spoke, Pietro took the magnetic coins back from Max Ernest and made one dance on his palm by manipulating the other coin above it. The first, invisible strings pulling two things together. It is magic, no? The cards, I know, they are a sign, just because I do not understand their secret. That no reason to ignore their message. Okay, wrote Max Ernest, but not totally convinced. So then what were the cards telling us? The magician looked him right in the eye. Really? Are you ready to listen? Max Ernest nodded. Very well, said Pietro gravely. Did you notice how the Ace of Wands, it fell upside down? This is a thing means a wrong must be righted, or in this case, a stolen item returned. What stolen item? Did you not take the tuning fork from your principal? What was his name? Mr. Johnson? This thing, it is bad luck. It wants to be returned to its owner. That is why it will not help you. It's a metal object. How can it want anything? It is a magnet, not a metal object. Does it not want to point north? You ask for my advice. This is my advice. Give the tuning fork back to your principal. Fine, I'll give it back, wrote Max Ernest, not at all certain he understood. But then, how do we get Cass back? I need the tuning fork to make the antidote. You must get her yourself. Max Ernest stared in confusion. You mean from the past? From back in history? More or less. You must bring her home from her own head. But how? You know her better than anyone. Get inside. Like you mind reading? Yes, if you like to call it that. Max Ernest shook his head disbelief. Pietro gave him many impossible assignments in the past. This one took the cake. Listen, my friend. We both know you do not have laryngitis. The magician gently extracted the pen from Max Ernest's hand and held it aloof as if it was one of his magic wands, perhaps the Ace of Wands. Your problem is not here. He pointed the pen at Max Ernest's throat. It is here. He pointed the pen at Max Ernest's chest. My heart, it's heavy too. But you must be strong. This situation is very serious. It is not only Cass's life that is at stake. If she dies, the secret will die too. Max Ernest reached for the pen, but Pietro shook his head and made the pen disappear with another sleight of hand. Not easy to do, considering the pen's large size. Speak. Max Ernest struggled, resigned to using his voice. I thought you didn't want anybody to find out the secret. This is true, agreed Pietro. But the only thing worse than people finding out the secret is that we lose the secret forever. Max Ernest looked at the ground, pondering the magician's words. Like everything about the secret, they were paradoxical, but he knew the mental of importance. Okay, I'll be strong, he said after a moment, in a forceful voice he could muster. And if there's any way to get inside Cass's head, I'll find it. Good, but first return the tuning fork, said Pietro, trying for a light tone he obviously did not feel. And when this is all over, our friend Cass is on her feet once more. I want to teach you to play Terracino. With the last promise, Pietro patted Max Ernest on the back and stepped back into the trailer to play another hand. Reader advisory. Alert level 90% Kako, very dark. In recent reports from the Broad indicates that some of this book has a secret series that may have tampered with the agents of the Midnight Sun. Until proven otherwise, you should assume this book is equipped with a device as a radio frequent transfer or global positioning system that enables the Midnight Sun to track your book and anybody who happens to be holding it. It's also possible that this book may be treated with an invisible ink or powdered disguise to rub off on the readers, identifying him or her as the person of interest to the Midnight Sun. There is no way to guarantee your safety or the safety of this book, but here are a few ordinary precautions you should take. 1. Never leave this book lying out in the open. Of course you shouldn't leave it telling the truth out in the open either. That would be even worse. 2. If necessary to carry this book in public, disguise the book. The most common way to do this is borrow a cover from another book or make your own cover out of a brown paper bag. But I encourage you to use your own creativity. Disguise like routine should be varied as often as possible. 3. Stay on the lookout for any white-gloved wearing strangers, and even, I hate to say it, white-gloved wearing friends. Remember, the masters of the Midnight Sun are smart and devious. They might adopt disguises that make their gloves look indistinguished or barren poet costumes, for instance, or they might wear outfits that hide their gloves altogether, like a full-body mascot costume or ball game or theme park. It is best to not trust anyone walking alligators or purple dinosaurs until further notice. 4. Do not panic. Anxiety attacks and associated illness like dizziness, nausea, hyperventilation, skin rashes, hives, and inconceivus, while perfectly understandable, are not at all helpful. 5. Use common sense. If somebody offers you $1,000 for this book, chances are their motives are not pure. Then again, $1,000 is a lot of money. Take the money and run. 5. It is an unfortunate event that you find yourself concerned by the members of the Midnight Sun. Pick your nose. Really, the most members of the Midnight Sun are very fatuous, and the sight of something so disgusting will likely cause them to break away in horror, giving you a chance to escape. this does not work, you might try telling them they have something stuck in their teeth. The Midnight Sun members are extremely vain, and the thought of something dirtying their purely white should send them running to the nearest mirror. Lastly, I am aware that the certain teachers and librarians and even some very irresponsible parents might have the occasion one or more of my books allowed to one or more children. It goes without saying that highly disapproved of this approach. The only thing worse than people reading one of my books to themselves is people sharing it with others. Be that as it may, I suspect that any pleading on my part would have little effect on the situation. Those reckless read-alouders should only read aloud perhaps, however. I suggest that two would not be inappropriate. I am in event that you or somebody you know simply must read this book aloud. Please make sure the blinds are closed and recording devices are turned off. And of course that there are plenty of chocolate available for everyone. Thank you, PB.